Hello and welcome to Good4Growth's presentation on Building Children Up with Words with me, Dr. Bob Murray. Let's get started. The Cardinal Health Foundation and the Ohio chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics have collaborated on Good4Growth, a program to promote childhood development by building strong relationships. The first phase of Good4Growth was aimed at giving pediatricians new skills to help cement the parent-child relationship. Recent research was presented in several areas related to child development, including one of my favorite topics, the role of language. Today I'd like to show you the power of language to shape a child's brain and behavior. One of the most exciting findings in the past decade has been how a child's brain is stimulated by communication. This is a remarkable opportunity for parents and caregivers to teach the child just by talking with them every day. We have to acknowledge that all of us are different when it comes to parenting. We approach the responsibility with different experiences and expectations. Our own childhood history will have a big impact on how we parent. For example, a past life filled with stress or trauma may make it hard to show an emotional, nurturing parenting style. In addition, many of us as parents lack the kind of social support we need to calm our own anxieties and reassure us that we're doing a good job as parents. It may not come naturally to all parents, but learning how to communicate the best way can bring out all the potential of the baby. At birth, the baby's brain is all potential waiting to be tapped. If all goes well during pregnancy, if mom takes care of herself, is healthy, nutritionally sound, and physically active, the baby will have a well-developed brain and nervous system that's ready to work. At this stage, the child's brain is complete with 85 billion brain cells. Right at birth, there's an explosion of information that comes into all five senses. Suddenly, there is bright light, noises, cold, things touching the skin, hunger pangs, all surrounding the baby. Immediately, brain cells begin to make connections with one another to make sense of it all. It is astonishing how quickly the newborn picks up new information. Over the first year alone, the baby's brain will double in size. By age 3, it will triple in size. All of it due to connections made between brain cells as a result of the baby's experiences. You can see that the quality of those experiences are a critical piece of building up the child's brain. To help them begin their exploration of the world, the newborn is born with some basic reflexes. We all remember when a baby grasps our finger. Every parent gets excited by the thought that their child is exceptional at that moment. There are many similar reflexes, like the rooting reflex, in which, when the baby's cheek is brushed, they turn their mouth toward it as a means of ensuring that they can find the breast. These start out as crude reflexes, but over time, as the infant sharpens their senses and uses their muscles, the reflexes become increasingly complicated skills. Reaching, pushing, holding and examining, testing with their lips are the next steps. With a set of ever-expanding sensory and motor skills, the baby begins to explore everything in their environment, particularly during the first year of life. The transformation from a helpless newborn with a few reflexes to a child using language and thinking about the world is stunning and very fast. Babies develop step by step. First, sensory and motor development, which gives way to the use of single words to describe objects, then to combination words to describe their needs and experience, and finally to make-believe play and expressive language to accompany it. While all children go through these same sequences, the richness of their environment and the language that they hear can be very different from one child to the next. It doesn't need to be. Communicating with the child is easy and natural, but very effective at building the brain. The differences we see between one child and another are often more the result of their experiences than their genetics. Researchers have found that parents and caregivers who support, encourage, laugh, and play with their child can speed up their baby's front brain development. It's called scaffolding. Throughout the day, this style of parenting builds on the child's object of attention. The parent keeps up a back-and-forth type of exchange that encourages the child's understanding of what they're learning. By the second year of life, an infant's skill at exploration has become extremely sophisticated. Piaget, the great child developmental expert who studied his own children as they developed, noticed that the skills the child uses had become so complex after just 12 months that he couldn't keep up. If the first year of life is mainly sensory motor exploration of things, the second year is the beginning of self-expression, language, and thinking. Thinking is the job of the front brain. Collectively, all these important activities are called the brain's executive functions. This is the brain's control center. It includes the ability to multitask, plan ahead, consider consequences of our actions, learn from our mistakes, combine new information with memories from our past, and stay persistent and focused on tasks. And as a first and critical step, we learn to control our emotions. As parents, we see this as the transition from the hyper-emotional terrible twos to the more mature, chatty, and thoughtful preschool-age child. The hot temper tantrums of the 2-year-old is dreaded by all parents, but it's here that communication can have its greatest effect. As a parent, the easiest way to practice scaffolding is through daily communication. Although we often think about words as communication, it's much more than that. Even the newborn communicates, whether through crying when hungry or watchfulness at the sound of a parent's voice. So a parent's scaffolding of their baby actually begins at birth. Talking, singing, cooing, responding to their needs, touching, and soothing are all foundations of communication that follows. This is the start of a relationship that will bring out all the full potential of the baby as the brain develops. The ideal parenting style connects with the child in a playful, back-and-forth type of interaction that's meant to teach and train. Child developmental experts call this serve and return, like in tennis or ping pong. It's easy to see it applied to language, but it also applies to physical play, emotional exchanges, even discipline, as well as during social exchanges and learning situations. Serve and return is ideal for building the brain, social skills, and self-control. Let's look at how serve and return parenting style can be expressed during everyday talk. Language is a form of play. So as parents use facial expression, cooing, touch, games, and sounds, the child absorbs and responds to them. This serve and return is a crucial piece of child development. In fact, the child's parents and caregivers have a unique opportunity to build up their child's development, social skills, and emotional strength, as well as their ability to think just by talking back and forth with the baby. 2 researchers named Hart and Risley did a very famous experiment. They set out to see how different parents talked with their children in the first few years of life. They studied 42 young families by videotaping them with their child at home for 1 hour a month over a 2.5-year period, over 1,300 hours of tape. The families came from 4 different economic backgrounds. Here, socioeconomic status is represented by SES. What Hart and Risley found was a huge difference between the highest income families, who were college professors, and the lowest income families, who were in poverty at the time, in terms of the number of words spoken in the home. By the time children were 4 years old, those from the highest income group had heard 45 million words, while those from the lowest income group had heard only 13 million words. The difference became known as the 30 million word gap, and it surprised health, mental health, and educational professionals alike. What difference does it make? Follow-up on Hart and Risley's work showed that kids who had richer language experience did better at reading and thinking skills all the way through elementary school. Many in the media interpreted the studies as saying that parents need to use lots and lots of words with their kids to help build their brains and stimulate language and reading skills. But the 30 million word gap was only part of the story. Hart and Risley found it wasn't just the number of words, but the type of words that differed between professionals in the highest economic group and parents in poverty. The professionals' families use more affirmations, more encouraging words, praise, excitement, and expression. Families in poverty tended to use more prohibitions, words to direct the child's behavior, like sit still, don't knock over your glass, wait here, or get down. Because language skills are built one on top of another, the child who was encouraged to speak and could get their parents to speak back to them quickly developed strong language skills, and later strong reading and writing skills as well. The other thing that the two researchers noticed was that using words with lots of expression added to the child's ability to express themselves with words. But why did lower-income parents use so few words and so few affirmations? Digging deeper, researchers found that families with less education believe that their child didn't understand their words. So why talk endlessly to kids if they don't know what you're talking about? It made sense to them. So the key finding was that the difference between highly educated and less educated families was a knowledge of child development. All the parents wanted what was best for their kids. Once a family understood how the child communicated and how best to communicate back, they became engaged in serve and return. What's exciting to me is the fact that awareness of development is easy to fix. We just need to do a better job of helping young parents realize the amazing things that babies can do. Pediatricians and child care providers have lots of ways to help teach parents how to watch their child's development unfold. Once parents have the understanding and the tools, they'll use them. When a parent knows what the child's capable of, how they see the world, and the extent to which words build their brain, then parenting is easier and much more fun. Teaching development should be a fundamental goal for all of us who care for children. So parents, particularly mothers, who tuned into the way their child saw the world, quickly could scaffold their child's language skills. For example, during the child's first year, when they're locked deeply into this sensory motor exploration of all the objects around them, when their mothers pointed, described, and encouraged their child's exploration, the child quickly imitated those sounds and picked up words, including the affect or expressiveness that the parent used. In the second year, when the child was using more complex exploration strategies and adding more and more words, parents who elaborated on the child's talk had a child who acquired 50 words more quickly, used more complex word combination, and showed memory more effectively. They also were more engaged in pretend and symbolic play, which are the precursors to reading, writing, and social skills. Infants tend to explore one object at a time. Parents who expand on their object of attention really support the child's ability to understand what they're examining. The secret of this kind of serve and return interaction is recognizing that scaffolding means staying centered on the child's focus of attention. When infants explore their environment, they turn their whole head and body along with their eyes. In other words, they don't use their eyes to scan a room like we do. As adults, we've learned enough about each object to put it in a category in our mind, each of which already is well understood. So we don't even consciously think about the chair, the door, the ball, the papers. But think what an infant sees. The infant doesn't know anything about the objects in the room. Everything in the room is equally new. The rug, the toys, the ball, the chair, the table are all objects that they need to explore and understand. So the child will move their attention from one thing to the next with curiosity. It's why their attention span is so short. Here's where language and serve and return really pay off. To make the most of a baby's explorations, parents will talk about what the child is looking at now. For the orange ball, the parent will say orange and roll the ball or bounce it. Language evolves quickly. In year 1, the infant will play with sounds, mimicking their parents and child care providers. In year 2, they begin to play with individual words to describe and communicate. As they grow, children will show an interest in songs, games, rhymes, and chants, such as Itsy Bitsy Spider and other word songs. Later, the child will start to mess with grammar and make jokes and have fun. The infant who learns orange ball will later learn about other balls. By the second year, the child has developed an understanding that the basketball and the ping pong ball, the orange and the black and white soccer ball, are all balls. In other words, they now have an understanding of ballness, which is an astonishing leap from just a few months earlier. It underpins language development. What we see as play is really a very serious business for the infant, toddler, and child. Through play, particularly through word play, the child greatly expands their ability to learn. In the second year, the child will mimic the parent's words and activity. Here, a toy becomes a cell phone, mirroring what they hear mom say and do with her cell phone. Pretend play, when children create make-believe roles and make-up dialogue, forms the basis for all later social interaction, peer relationships, and use of imagination. When can we find the time to do all this? Often we want to play and read and chat with the child, but we can't find much time during our hectic day. One saying coined by the well-known pediatrician Barry Brazelton was the magic of everyday moments. His message is really helpful. Scaffolding and using serve and return is something that we as parents should weave all through the day, at meals, during chores, at bath time when we're in the car, wherever we can find a few moments to engage with the child and enter their world. It's easier than you think. The simple takeaway from all the research on child language is this. From the first day of life and all through childhood and adolescence, surround the child with words. Use lots of encouragement and expressiveness. Try to see what the child is seeing and feeling. Talk about it. Parents' and caregivers' attention is the simplest and most powerful form of education that we have. Thank you for listening. This has been a presentation of Good4Growth, a program brought to you by the Cardinal Health Foundation and the American Academy of Pediatrics, Ohio chapter.